Hi, AVID family. Erica Levitch here, AVID Program Manager in California. I've seen a lot of questions about virtual AVID recruitment, so I wanted to share a few things that I've talked to my districts about as they've been recruiting virtually recently. First thing I'm going to talk about is the AVID Secondary Implementation Resource, which I'm now going to reference as ACER because it's a really long title. And there is a lot of good stuff in there, so we're going to take a few seconds to dive into that. And then also I'm going to share an example student application, which has a student side and a teacher side, as well as interview questions that you could use when you are recruiting online. We're going to start by navigating to the ACER resource and checking that out. So you'll get there by clicking on the blue My eLearning tab when you get into your My AVID account, and you'll go to your dashboard. Access is not denied. I don't know why I keep saying that. You'll click on the ACER picture here, and it will take you to this landing page. So we're going to click on Modules on the left side, and that's going to take us to all of the 4 domains that are in the CCI, in your coaching and certification instrument. So you see domain 1, instruction. All of these links here will take you to different resources that will help you collect data and evidence when you're looking at these different domains, thinking about submitting your CCI data. We're going to scroll down to Systems, clicking on Define Selection Criteria, Systems 1.1. And I just wanted to show you that within a couple of these areas, when we're thinking about recruitment, there are some great resources here that you can use for your site. So there's an application packet that's comprehensive, very comprehensive, interview question resources, recruitment rubrics for middle and high school, and then letter templates for acceptance and waitlist. So that's where you can find the resources here. And then if we go back, and we go down to AVID Elective Recruitment and Selection Plan, there are more resources here. So there's a statement of commitment that students can sign, an interest form, how you can recruit through a culturally proficient lens. So other great resources here as we're thinking about recruitment. So this is the first part of the application, so the student side that they fill out. And what I like about this one, this is from one of my middle schools that I work with, is that the entire application is in Spanish and English. So it's great to, for those parents who might only speak Spanish, to encourage them to be a part of the application process. And you can also use this for AVID Excel students. It's that same application, and so it really supports that equity lens. So I'm just going to scroll through this briefly. So it has a description of what AVID is, and requires the student name and then which school they're currently attending. So you would fill in these options. And then the father's name and occupation and educational background, as well as the mother's name, occupation, and educational background are all optional. So this particular school wanted to make that optional in case parents maybe didn't want to respond with where they worked or their educational background. And the second part is just for students to fill out a little bit more about themselves and really gives the school a chance to see their writing style and how their answers look and how the answers feel. So favorite subject in school, some really basic questions here. Subject is most challenging for you. What do you think you'll need in middle school or high school to be successful in your classes? And then what would you like to do in the future as an adult? The second part of the application is for the student's current teacher. So whether it's their elementary school teacher or one of their middle school teachers, I would recommend having them fill this out. It's a great way to get some insight to these students because these teachers have been with them for almost an entire year. And so that we're asking them for just some basic information. So the teacher's name, student name, and then asking them which of these criteria below qualifies their student for AVID. And if they don't fall into any of these categories, they can click Other. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a later slide. And then some simple, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate this student? And so in the area of academic success, how they are with their grades, motivation, desire to go to college, and willingness to work hard. And then just a little bit more information, is a student an English learner, and RFEP is a reclassification of those students, and that's for California. And then what their scores were on the most recent LPACS test. Again, that's California specific. And then, do you recommend the student for the AVID elective class? Yes or no? So I've had a couple of districts where they've gotten some very honest answers here. So the teacher might say, no, they do not recommend them. And then down here, they'll use this additional comment space to explain why. So those districts, I think, had a more a better recruitment process. They had a stronger AVID class because they gave their current teachers of those students the ability to be honest down here with their feedback. The student doesn't see this. This goes directly from the teacher to the school that's recruiting AVID students. So just some ideas here on how to get some feedback from your students' current teachers. So this is an example of interview questions and a rubric that you can use with those interview questions. This is that same example middle school. So just to give you some reference. So the rubric 1 through 4 is how you would grade the following questions. And again, this is an example. This link will be in the description, so you can download a copy and edit as needed. So it asks for the student name, the current school, you would fill those options in. And then all of the short answers where you would type in are optional, so that if you want to use paper and jot down those answers separately, you can. But this school decided to keep all the data answers required so that it could easily collect data on every student and give them a score. So these are just some basic questions that the school came up with. So what 3 words would you use to describe yourself? What do you normally do outside of school? When something is hard for you in class, what do you do? Why are you interested in being an AVID? What career are you interested in pursuing? And then the overall score for the interview. And I really like how the school added these options here. So they had some older students who would come and interview younger students. And so this helped those students, give them some parameters in terms of what they might check here and give them some guidance when they're interviewing students. And then any other comments down here that they felt didn't fall into any of these categories, they could write in the bottom here or type into the bottom here. So in terms of how to interview these students, the districts that I've talked to that are doing digital recruitment, the most common way is actually Zoom. So they set up a conference room and have students sign up for different time slots. Now definitely set up your privacy settings so you don't have any weird stuff happening. Other ways that I hear interviews happening are through Google Hangouts and Microsoft Teams, although Zoom is definitely the most popular and it's free, so that's helpful. And then if you can't figure out a way to do this on video, then good old telephone always works. I have a lot of districts that are reaching out to students who've applied and setting up just a time to chat on the phone. So really, in terms of an equity lens, making sure that every student who's applied to AVID has a chance to be interviewed, whether it's virtual or on the phone. So as I'm finishing up, I did want to talk briefly about the requirements for an AVID student. Now, I pulled this matrix off of the ACER under that first systems kind of AVID recruitment portion, and this does give you the national selection criteria, so those students in the middle, the 2.0 to 3.5 GPA, and then also asking that they fall into one of these 4 categories. Now that being said, you may have students who fall outside of these parameters who want to be an AVID and you think they're a good fit in AVID, and the way that I coach my sites and my districts is the more the merrier. I mean, the whole why behind AVID is to support students and helping them get prepared for higher education. So if you have students who want to be an AVID, even if they don't hit all of these requirements and you have space in your elective classes, then absolutely, please feel free to put them in AVID. Again, this is just my opinion. This is just what I would say, but that why behind AVID really does support including as many students as possible. Okay, that's all I really wanted to share, some kind of tips and tricks about what my districts have been trying in terms of online recruitment or digital recruitment. So thank you for watching and have a fabulous day.